There's a couple of things that happened with regards to 9/11 over the last couple of weeks. There's a thing that just came out a few days back where there's these families of victims who supposedly have been given access to footage that's a little bit dubious in terms of what it means, but according to them, it shows complicity of Saudi Arabia with the 9/11 attacks, because apparently there was some intelligence official who was taking pictures or video or whatever of the sites where this would happen prior to it happening. And so to them, that's proof positive that Saudi Arabia was behind it or was involved or whatever. Of course, it could mean any number of things. We don't actually know. Anyway, I won't even go into that to question the footage itself. There's too many possible explanations for it and questions about it. But anyway, they had a big press conference where they're calling for accountability against Saudi Arabia, that the Biden administration or potentially the Trump administration should do something about Saudi Arabia and make them a pariah state and what have you. And we all know what it means. Americans don't. First of all, they're not signatories to the Rome Statute, so they're not signed on to the ICC. They don't respect the ICJ, so they don't mean taking Saudi Arabia or any alleged suspects or culprits that they think are responsible in Saudi Arabia. They're not talking about taking them to court. They're not talking about actually going through a legal process based on evidence and proof. We know what they mean. It always means one thing and one thing only with the Americans, which is to attack. It means war, it means bombing, means invasion, means occupation, and so on. So this is a thing that happened. But interestingly, this happened after a video that was put out by Candace Owens, where she was bringing up old information that all of those of us who lived at the time, who were adults at the time of 9/11, we all know all of this already about the Israelis, the Mossad agents, the Israeli intelligence agents, who were filming the attack itself and jumping up and down and cheering when it took place, when it actually happened. When the planes hit the building in New York, there were Israeli intelligence agents. And then there's also the stories about how notification was given prior to the attack happening to clear Jewish people out of the vicinity. All of this is old information, but it went down a memory hole shortly after 9/11. It went down a memory hole. But this is an evidence that it goes down a memory hole. The memory hole is a vault. It doesn't go into the memory hole indefinitely and forever. It goes into the memory hole until they need it, until they can pull it out and use it. So this, to me, shows these two events with regards to 9/11 show the two struggling sides of how they want to move forward, how the OCGFC want to move forward. Because on the one hand, they're willing to now expose Israeli complicity in 9/11, potentially, allegedly. But then there's another faction that wants to put it on Saudi Arabia. I find it very interesting that this came out right after this very damning information that, again, we've all known for years, but there's a whole generation of people, if not two generations of people, to whom this is news about the Israeli involvement or alleged involvement. Implied involvement. But this came out on Candace Owens' platform, and she has a massive audience, and a massive audience specifically of conservatives. This other thing about Saudi Arabia came out, you can say, or it looks like, or has the effect of trying to say, no, not the Israelis, the Saudis. So this is the neocons, the Biden side of things, the neocons, that they want to divert attention away from the much more substantial evidence of Israeli complicity and put it onto Saudi Arabia, precisely because Saudi Arabia has been turning away from the West. They don't need America anymore. They suspended the petrodollar agreement. They joined BRICS. They are insisting upon Palestinian statehood, return to the 1967 borders, and so on. And they have been absolutely stubborn and intransigent about this. And then there's the other faction that wants to cut ties with Israel, the OCGFC, that want to cut ties with Israel and say, because this is what they do. They will cooperate with you. They will be your partner in crime. America will be your partner in crime, and they will gather all of the evidence, and they'll make sure that they have access to all of the evidence because you're working together anyway. But they won't. They'll suppress that evidence until they need it, until the time comes that they want to sell you down the river. So anyone who does dirt with America as a partner, just know that your time is coming. Your time is limited. You have a very limited window of freedom when you will not be held to account, and that includes, for example, a modern case is Zelensky. A current case right now is Zelensky. He will be hung out to dry, and all of the dirt that everyone knows that there is on Zelensky, all of the corruption, all of the restrictions on freedom, all of the tyranny, all of that, it will come out when it's convenient for them. So I just find it really interesting. They're trying to, both sides are now trying to utilize 9/11 for this side or for that side. At first I found it really interesting that the Candace Owens thing came out. Because again, like I said, for us, this is all old information, but it was all suppressed. But now it's suddenly getting a major platform, getting a major platform. The important point here is for everyone to understand, to try to cure you of your blindness. If you imagine that Saudi Arabia is an American ally and that it's an American puppet, they are pulling their hair out at how much they despise Saudi Arabia right now, because Saudi Arabia is acting independently, is acting with sovereignty, is acting with autonomy against their interests, and they have built their alliances and their partnerships with China and with Russia. I mean, I saw a thing by one of those non-Muslim sincere advisors to the Muslims, saying that Saudi Arabia was doing this, that, and the other against Islam in Saudi Arabia because of their desperate desire for Western investment. Western investment in Saudi Arabia is a fraction of what Chinese investment is in Saudi Arabia. No one needs your money. Least of all Saudi Arabia. No one needs your money. This isn't, again, I keep repeating it, this isn't 1994, it's 2024. Your money isn't good anymore. And even your dollar is going to collapse. And you know that it's going to collapse because there's a whole faction of the OCGFC who are making it collapse. De-dollarization is being driven by the elite. It's not an uprising of the global south as much as people want to think it is. This is the OCGFC turning away from America. And they're turning towards Saudi Arabia. You know, they're turning towards Saudi Arabia, they're turning towards the Gulf, they're turning towards the global south because obviously, for obvious reasons that I've elucidated many, many times, that I've enumerated many, many times. But if you're still talking about Saudi Arabia being some kind of a puppet of the United States, then you really don't need to talk about politics at all. And you just need to go back to playing video games.